So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually choose a business structure. Now, business structures can be anything from a sole proprietorship, which is basically like, hey, it's just you and you've got a social security number and that's how you're rolling. And that's totally an option. All the way to a C-Corp. Now, C-Corps are separate business entities and separate tax entities. And the reason I make that distinction is because the government can only tax two types of entities: corporations and individuals. So when we start talking about things like limited liability partnerships, that's not an individual, doesn't sound like it, or a corporation, but it is an individual. And so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that we're talking specifically about business formations, but some of these options have taxable implications as well. So if you want to go deeper here, I did link that. I did link a site that goes real deep into all of those different classifications. But from a high level, I just want to recommend the LLC. The LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. It is not a standard corporation, which would be a C-Corp or an S-Corp. It is a pass-through entity from a taxation standpoint, meaning that if you have an LLC, it basically is like the formation of a bubble around you as an individual. And it says, this is my company and I am me. And while I might be the sole proprietor of this LLC, meaning that I am the owner, the single member LLC. In some cases, it's a partnership. I have a partnership with my husband, so we both are members of this LLC. The business stands for itself. And the reason that's important, and an important distinction, is because if you operate under an LLC, it protects your personal assets from anything the business might get into. Now, because we deal with substances such as alcohol that are of a higher risk factor, I personally find this really important, because if something was to happen in the business, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'd have to be culpable or guilty of anything, I could just literally be sued for any reason, they can't touch my personal assets because the LLC is the business and I am not the business. Whereas if you were a sole proprietor and you were functioning as a sole proprietor, you are your business. And so anything that you do in the business and professional capacity could put you, your house, anything that you own personally at risk. That's why the LLC was created. The LLC was created to provide a little bit of almost like a middle ground between a C-Corp and a sole proprietorship. And so it enables you to a little bit more legal protection. But it's a pass-through tax entity. What does that mean? It just means that you can, you do your taxes at the end of the year for the LLC, but then whatever's at the bottom just gets pushed on over to your personal taxes. So I highly recommend the LLC formation. If you're doing business with someone else, you can do an LLC with partners. Does not require, any partnership corporation. And it does allow you a little bit more legal protection. And it is an easier kind of taxation route because it's a pass-through tax entity.